Tibial plateau fracture. This was my knee. However, this was me dancing salsa 6 weeks later. Let me show you one of the exercises I did with 2 crutches that allowed me to get these results. All right, so the analogy I want to use, and this is one I go into my online Tibial Plateau program even deeper, is this analogy of a table being broken. So let's say that the corner of this table somehow gets knocked off and it's on the floor. Well, we have a few different options how we could fix the corner of the table, and this goes within the knee options too. A, we could glue the corner back on. The problem is then we need to say, okay, is this wood? Is this particle board? What type of wood is it? Will the glue be affected by heat? Florida, where it's humid, heat, Arizona, where it's dry, Maine, where it gets very cold. The glue, the idea of how long it might last or what makes it last longer is very subjective, and it depends on the glue that we have. So let's go now into like if you were to stitch this thing on, which we would not do, but this would be an option for the knee. Well, obviously stitching something is gonna probably be the weakest option, so that makes no sense. The point of this analogy is, imagine if I put this corner of the table back on and I used 6 screws in a plate. That's probably overkill. However, think of what we did to our knee. Now, if we think about the table, we're not just gonna wake up one morning and after putting 6 screws in a plate in here, find the corner back on the floor. It's not gonna happen. However, maybe because of use or whatever we're doing, the corner starts to get a little bit wobbly, right? The screws inside the wood or whatever it is start to move a little bit. And if any of you have any like IKEA style furniture, that's usually the problem with the furniture, is whatever is holding it together starts to get a little bit loose because the inside is just breaking apart, so to speak. Well, bone in your body is the most sensitive tissue that we have. So when the screws go in your bone, if the screws start to move like that, you will know, because the bone will become so inflamed and so sensitive that you can't continue with that exercise. That is how the body protects itself. So if you're gonna do this exercise that I'm gonna show you in this next part of this film, and you're afraid that the bone's just gonna fall on the floor, just like the table analogy, it's impossible because you have 6 screws in there and a plate. It's basically overkill. However, the body is so clever that if the screws start to move in the bone, which would happen in the table, so to speak, the difference is you're not a table, you're a living being. And with bone being the most sensitive tissue in the body, that tiny little movement in your leg, the screws in your bone, you will notice it. And you're not gonna notice it because the way I'm gonna teach you the exercise, that's not gonna happen. But the point of this idea that the people think, A, they're gonna ruin something, B, their bone's gonna fall on the floor, C, their head's gonna explode, it's not gonna happen because our body is so well designed that we have these emergency measures, if you will, built into it that really, if we follow a slow progression, we can't do anything wrong. This was the point of me building my online Tibial Plateau program, is each step I take people along the way and we learn about our body so we understand the signals and the signs of how it goes. I mean, think about muscle soreness. If you did 1,000 sit-ups and you didn't get sore, you would be terrified that something's wrong with your body. Therefore, when we move forward with our rehab, some soreness is good soreness, but we have to understand what is exactly going on. If the screws move a little bit in the bone, A, you shouldn't feel that, but B, of course your bone is going to become a bit inflamed because that's how it gets stronger. The question is, what is too much? And the answer is much easier than you think. You just need to learn how to listen to your body, and that's what I'm going to explain during this exercise, which I did that helped me, like I said, get back to dancing salsa 6 weeks later with the doctor's permission. All right, so tibial plateau fracture people, this calf raise that I'm going to show you in 3 different positions is one of the best exercises you can do, and I'm going to explain to you why. So first, my broken leg was my left leg. That is why my pant leg is pulled up. The first thing I want you to do is, let's say you put your foot, there's 3 exercises, you can do them in whatever order you want, but let's do them together. My left foot is forward. Now, one of my clients has a type 2 fracture, or type 3, I'm sorry. So he's allowed to put basically 40 pounds of body weight directly on his leg. If that's not you, you can either A, hold it in the air, or B, I would suggest slightly put it on the ground. I had a type 2 fracture, meaning no body weight at all, and one of my clients online has the same, and both I and his physical therapist suggested just a very, 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 very light amount on the foot. So if you watch my section before where I talk about the corner of the table being broken off, you will understand that you're not gonna really do any damage, and if you are terribly afraid of that, which I totally understand, then you can keep the foot in the air and just go through this motion, because the way the body works is it gets rid of swelling through pumping the muscles. So imagine gravity, the fact that you're not moving very much, you're very sedentary, all of that swelling wants to move down. So we need a way to move it back up. And we did live in a world before ibuprofen and muscle relaxers and anti-inflammatories existed. We have a natural process in the body, and that's the muscles contracting and pushing it up. So it's kind of like getting that toothpaste finally out of the toothpaste out of the tube, Jesus. You know, when you just squeeze it all the way up, that's what our body does. So every single time I move like this, my foot contracts, my calf contracts, every muscle starts to contract in this kinetic chain, and it helps push this swelling out. Not only that, but you're also then moving your joints, you're moving your body, you're keeping that range of motion, and if you choose to put just a little bit of body weight, or if you're a type 3 fracture like my clients, up to 40 pounds, then you're also using your bones, right? Think about osteoporosis and what happens when people stop using their body. The bone starts to get weak. Well, you broke your bone, so we need to start kind of training that bone again, right? It's the first time you do sit-ups, the muscle soreness comes. It's the same thing we need to the bone. We don't need muscle soreness to come, but we want to use that bone. So we start strengthening it so it gets stronger, because soon you're not going to need these crutches anymore, and your body is going to have to support your leg, right? So first exercise is like this. You see me as I'm chatting with you, I'm doing it. I would say 2 to 3 sets of 15, just like this. You can decide on how much body weight you want to put on your leg, and I'll explain that in the next exercise better. So this would be number 1. Number 2 is going to be just keep them together like this. And as you come up, the very interesting thing with this one, when I have like ACL clients or regular knee surgery clients and not something so extreme like this, is what we often do, because they don't have crutches, is we teach them that yes, of course, this is 100% on my right, this is 50% on both, and this is what, 100% on my left, which is not possible for anybody at the moment. But what we also have is I could say, okay, you know what, Stan, I'm just gonna hold the crutches out, I'm not gonna use them, and say, well, I want 20% of body weight on my left leg, and then I can lean more on my right leg and put minimal body weight here. So what we need to learn is it's not always this black and white, 100%, 50-50, 100. We have this entire spectrum in between where we start to understand the body weight of our body. So you, with your crutches, can do the same thing. Even if you're terrified to put your foot on the ground, then don't set it on the ground. Just go through the motion, use the crutches and your good leg for everything else, because just that movement of the ankle alone is going to keep that range of motion, and you're still going to get some of that swelling, pumping benefits, and definitely more benefits than not doing anything at all. So the final piece is going to be your legs are going to be back just like this. And from here, you can do more of a push off. So this time your front leg can move also if you wanted to, but it's more this pushing off motion. Now you can put your crutches wherever you want for it. I'm trying to think where I want mine. Just like this, and I'm really on my front leg, and this just allows me to kind of rock forward and back. Coordination takes a little bit of time. It's kind of strange when you can't put so much weight on your back foot, but this allows me just to push off and again get that muscle contraction in my calf and in my foot, get that joint motion in my ankle, and choose how much body weight I want to set down. Because what's going to happen is around, it depends on who your doctor is and how bad your fracture was. I was told around 8 to 10 weeks I shouldn't be walking. This is me 5.5 weeks later dancing salsa. The reason was A, I would say because I was softly doing these exercises, but B, what's going to happen is when I went to the doctor, they said, okay, great, everything is good. You can ditch the crutches and you can ditch the brace. The problem is you have to think about how small these muscles are, the bottom of your foot, the calf, and if you haven't been walking for 6 plus 8 weeks and you start going full body weight, regular, no crutches right away, you're gonna, I don't wanna say die, that's a bit dramatic, but your foot is gonna get so tired. So these exercises are not only great just for the rehab and everything else, but they also keep just some of your strength in your leg. So then when your doctor tells you to ditch your crutches, a little bit of a tip I talk about in my online program is don't ditch them right away. Try to maybe decrease using them over like a 4 or 5 day period, because that helps dramatically from just the muscle soreness. And then at the end of the day, not walking with like terrible technique just because you've gotten so tired because your foot has become so weak. But this exercise will really help prevent that from happening too extreme, if you will. So again, I can't sell this free program enough. Please check the link below. I literally have an unbelievable tibial plateau fracture program. The first 10 days, you don't even need a credit card. You can literally just get started with an email address. So if you have any questions, comment below, hit me up with an email, follow me. You got my Instagram everywhere. All my information is here. I say it again in the outro, but just start doing something for yourself, because the rehab process coming back from this, when you're doing some stuff on your own with your physio, is exponentially better and faster.